And we're live this morning from Los Angeles County. Really excited to be here. We're at Friar Canyon this morning, so I'm just gonna let you guys have a peek. This beautiful, beautiful place. Really, really nice. I was thinking about doing this episode at the beach, but I was thinking the cell phone service and the waves probably wouldn't be a good idea. However, I did want to mention how beautiful the ocean sounds with that nice that sound of the ocean is really similar to the sound of breathing. And I think that was a really beautiful way to start today's show, because that's what we'll be talking about. So welcome. I'm Jessica Disbrow, licensed social worker and registered psychotherapist in the state of Colorado. I'm also the founder and primary therapist of Higher Consciousness Healing. We offer innovative mental health services in Lakewood, Colorado. We do community building, free online education, individual and group services, and we specialize working with millennials. So if you want more information about our practice, definitely check us out on the web at www.higherconsciousnesshealing.org. Right now you're watching our live video blog that we air every Saturday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, where we talk about different mental health topics from a spiritual and scientific perspective. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. Last week we talked about exploring our emotions. And it was definitely more of a heavier episode. I did cover more of the darker side of emotions because it's something that I don't feel like people talk enough about. Well, it's really important to build awareness in so many ways. And I really think that starting with the breath is such a good place for us to begin. Because our breath really tells a lot about our mental and emotional state. And it's not something that people have a lot of awareness around. So I'm going to talk about 12 different techniques to achieve different things like being calm, helping with insomnia, different energizing breaths, one to help focus and balance, and even talking about some really good breathing for those of you out there already practicing yoga. I'm really excited to get into all of that. But first, why should we talk about the breath? Because it works automatically, doesn't it? Isn't it something that we can just sort of do without thinking a lot about it? Well, it's actually something that we have a lot of control over, and it affects just every part of our well-being. And especially that mental state. And we really have a disconnect between that basic idea. So creating awareness really helps us understand our unconscious reactions to stress. So once we start doing this work and we start becoming more and more aware of the breath and thinking about how we are breathing in these various mental states, you'll start to realize things. For me, something that I really recognized was how my level of anxiety was really impacting my breath. So I noticed that I would be holding my breath or breathing really slow, really shallow, and I just wasn't getting enough oxygen because I was so tense and anxious that I just wasn't breathing fully, and then that was putting my body into an even worse state of stress. So things like that are just really helpful to be aware of. As if you're always stressed, you feel like it's normal and you might not even notice. So another really important thing is that breath is really a portal to a deeper, higher level of awareness for your mind, body, and spirit. And when we can really harness that, we can do amazing things. There's actually yogis who can, it sounds kind of crazy, but they can play dead in all of these ways that, they're proving with science. They make their brain waves go to almost a dead state where they're not exhibiting any brain waves, they're not breathing, and it seems like their body's just not alive, when really they're fully conscious of it and they actually have that much control over their body and their organs in their brain, everything, that they can do that. And that's really quite a feat, that level of awareness. So obviously that's probably not the goal for you all in the audience, but I did just want to take this episode to cover 12 different techniques that I think would be really beneficial to you all watching at home. So if you're interested, get a pen and paper. We'll also be posting some of these on Facebook because some of them are more advanced than others, and I want to give everyone like a written version of some of this too from some different articles that I'm going to share this week. But right now, just grab a pen and paper and write down the ones that you feel like would be really useful for you. So I've learned these different techniques from a variety of places, from a variety of teachers throughout the last 5-10 years probably. So the first couple ones that I want to focus on are ones that really trigger that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest state, because I know so many of us are dealing with things like anxiety, and it's really helpful to know some basic breathing techniques that we can do at any time to really help with that. So the first two are really specifically for trying to get your body in a calm state, and I'm just going to walk you through all of these. And these are more basic ones, and they're easier than some of the advanced ones we're going to be getting into. The first one, I've presented this in one of my other episodes, but it's the 4-4-8 count. And that's really breathing in for 4, holding for 4, and exhaling for 8. And I really love this one. I learned it at my yoga instructor training a number of years ago, and I've found this to be really beneficial. So we're going to take a minute to do this now. All right, so exhale all the air out of your breath, and then breathe in for 4. Pause for 4. And exhale for 8. In for 4. Pause for 4. And exhale for 8. All right. And you can do that for a couple minutes. It really makes a big difference. And the best part about that one is that no one really knows you're doing it. Another one that I just learned recently, number 2, it's called square breathing. I actually learned this from somebody in my office space recently, and I was like, wow, I've never heard of square breathing, but I'd love to share it with you all because I've also found it really helpful. And these different breathing counts and things, you could just find what works for you, is what's really important, because there's a lot of variations out there. So this one is, the count is 4, 4, 4, 4. So you breathe in for 4. Pause for 4. Exhale for 4. And then pause for 4 again. And it's like you're making a square. So you can kind of draw a square in your mind as you're doing it. I think that would also help kind of quiet the mind and help you focus on the breath a little bit more. So those are 2 that are really great for trying to be calm and reduce that anxiety. I have 2 more, which are really, they're also good for relaxation and anxiety, but I do put them more in the insomnia category for those of you who are struggling with insomnia. Something that's really, really helpful is a body scan. So you're doing a body scan with your breath. So as you're laying in bed or sitting in a chair in your office maybe, you breathe in deeply and you imagine the breath going all the way to your right foot. And then as you exhale, you imagine that breath carrying any toxins, any stress away from your right foot. And then you breathe in again and you focus on your right ankle. You breathe out to get all that stress that maybe your ankle is carrying around. And then you breathe in again, and you breathe air into your calf muscles and really feel what it's like in your calf. And as you exhale, you release any tension from that area. So you get the idea. So basically you start with the right or left leg, you go all the way up to the hips, then do the opposite leg, And then you focus on moving into the bigger parts of your body. So your stomach, your chest, your heart, down both of your arms, and through your neck and head and face. Now, it really allows us to focus, tap into those different parts of the body, and really like visually release a lot of that tension that we're holding on to in those areas. Because the breath is really cleansing. It's providing oxygen to all parts of your body and every cell. And when we exhale, we really are breathing out toxins. So it's just a really great way to get ourselves in that really calm resting state so we can then go to sleep. It's really helpful. Another one that's really great for insomnia is a counting breath. And I've been using this one for years. This is actually one of the first breathing techniques that I learned back in actually high school when I first started to try and meditate and understand what that was. I read in this book, well, this one's really great for insomnia. So it's a 5 breath count, and you breathe in really deeply and you count 1, and you imagine yourself drawing 1 on the chalkboard. And then as you exhale, you erase it in your mind, the 1. And you want to, do some big belly breaths on this, and really all of these would be helpful. Really tap into that abdominal muscle as you're doing these different breathing techniques. So you close your eyes and you count 1, draw it on the chalkboard, and then you erase it. And then you count 2 and draw it on the chalkboard, and then erase it. And you count 1 through 5, and then you repeat 1 through 5, and then again. So you're really helping with that. So those are some really good ones for insomnia. Now the next ones I'm going to be talking about are really all about energizing breaths. I'm not really sure if this is a good place for me to continue this because people are being a little loud, so I'm going to take my my books and everything and go a little bit further away from those folks. It is a public place and it's a beautiful day, so they're just being kind of a little loud. All right. So some of the other breaths I want to talk about are more from the yogic tradition. So if anybody's been practicing yoga, some of these may come up. And the first one that I want to talk about is the breath of fire. Sounds kind of scary, but I promise it's really worth it. It's also known as Agni Prasana. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And it really has to do with abdominal contractions. So I recommend that you kind of start it as like a panting breath, like a dog. So it's like you stick out your tongue and you pant. Just like a happy puppy, just really light and really airy. And what you're doing is this is actually long, deep breathing sped up. So you can start slow and then you can pick it up and you're really feeling your abdominals contract as you're doing it. And then when you kind of get the hang of it, you could close your mouth and you transfer that breath into your nasal passages. So you go from this. And now this one's kind of a tricky one. So dizziness is never the goal with any of these breathing techniques. So if you're starting to feel dizzy, it's definitely take some few deep breaths and kind of reground. But this one is a little bit trickier, and it's something that I slowly have built over the years, and now I could probably do for several minutes on end, whereas before I could really only do it for like 30 seconds. So give yourself some patience with that. And it's just really good for energizing to really like clear and purify that stuff out of our body. All right, number 6. The next one is called skull shining breath, or Kalapalabhakti. And This is all about having like deep inhales and then an explosive exhale coming from the lower belly. So it's really breathing in and then out real quick. And that's a really, really great purifying one. It's really expelling a lot of that stale energy and purifying the body. It's really energizing, really uplifting, and it's a really great one to do in the morning for a few minutes. This next one, number 7, is actually a variation of that, which I'm going to have my cameraman take the camera for me. And that's good right there. And so it's a very similar with a deep, long inhale. And you're going to have your arms raised for this one. So you inhale deeply, and then and you pull your arms down. Don't hurt yourself. I've actually done that before. Got a little bit too excited in the morning. But you raise up. And do that for a few minutes. It's really invigorating. It's a pretty amazing breath technique I really wanted to share. Very energizing, very purifying. I think it's like the skull shining breath, like a little bit on steroids. So it's been really great. The next one, number 8. So this is really great. Also, if you're having a panic attack, you're really busy in your mind, you're having a lot of anxiety. It's really about balancing both sides of the brain and body and getting yourselves in a really good focused place. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this if you're just about to sleep, but some people do think that it's good for anxiety. However, I do feel like this is more energizing than some of the calm ones that we talked about, but that's a little bit up for debate. So find what works for you with this one. So this is an alternative nose breathing. It's called Nadi Shodhana. You take your right hand and you put your index finger and middle finger down. So you're really using your thumb and your ring finger. So you start with closing the right nostril and you breathe in the left. And then you close both of them just for a second. And then you alternate and you press with your ring finger on your left side to exhale. And then you pause. And you breathe in. Pause. Out. You get the idea. So you do that for a few minutes to 5 minutes, and it just is really great because then you're really activating their left and right side of your brain, your left and right side of your body, and it's really helpful to get us balanced and more in a focused place. The last 4 that I'm going to be talking about, they're really simple, and they really are more for yogi practices, so people who are already practicing a lot of yoga. If you're watching in the audience, these are called vibrational breaths. And these are all ones that I learned at my yoga studio back in New York City. Yoga to the people, give them some credit. Even though they didn't make up these breaths, but this vibrational breathing, again, is really just to help us to remove some of those things that we're carrying in us, both physically and energetically. So the first one is a ha breath. So as you're doing your yoga and you feel called to do this, and you can even do this without yoga really, but I'm just saying that that's where I learned it from. You breathe in, and then you just say, ha. It feels a little silly, but I promise it's totally worth it. And the louder and more authentic you can make the ha's, the better. Because you don't want to ever force anything like this. So let's just try that again. Ha. And it really helps to release that stuff. The next one is very similar, but instead of ha, it's hum. So we go hmm, hmm, just like that. And again, you can try and figure out what poses work best for some of these vibrational breaths. The next one is just like I don't really know what to call it, but I want to call it like butterfly lips breathing. It's kind of a butterfly flutter of the lips. You've probably seen like kids do it, where you can breathe in and then Now, I really like this one because it's kind of silly and it kind of wakens up kind of like the inner child in us. And same with this next one called lion's breath, where you take a nice big breath in and then you exhale. Just like that, and you can be the fierce lion that you have inside of you. And that's another great one. So that makes number 12. So those are our 12 different breathing techniques that we covered today for various different things that you can start implementing as soon as you want. And I really hope that you all have gotten something out of this episode, because again, breathing is so key and just really has this profound impact on our lives. And it's something that we just don't pay enough attention to. So I have a book recommendation. It's called, let me grab it. I know it's going to be backwards for you, but it's The Science of Breath. I'm going to just read the front and back. It's a practical guide. On the front it says, controlling the breath is a prerequisite to controlling the mind and body. I did get this through my yoga teacher training. It's just really, really fantastic. It's by Swami Rama. He's a really great yoga master who grew up in the Himalayas, and so he was passed on all these ancient traditions since he was a child. And he's actually the yogi I was speaking about at the beginning, who can actually like play dead, and he just has that level of control over his body. He can control his heart rate, different organs. It's really fantastic. We do have so much more control over our body through the mind than anyone is talking about. And I'd really argue that we have so much control over our reality and our outward existence through the mind. So I really do want to emphasize that for those of you watching in the audience who've been keeping up with my show, really embodying and doing the work, really getting that, dealing with the things we don't want to deal with, all of that pain and trauma and negative emotions. When we really deal with that and are able to pass through all of that pain, on the other side is really something beautiful. It's really the ability to live your dreams and really tap into a connectedness with the universe and God that just so many people are unaware of because they're in that trauma state. They're in that survival state in the brain. And I know because I've been there and I've seen the evolution for myself and I've seen it in other people. And I just want to encourage everyone in the audience to really know that that's a possibility for you. We don't have to be miserable, and we don't have to be victims of our circumstances. So starting with the breath is an amazing place, and it's something that everyone has access to. So the science of breath, a lot of good research in here about how that energy is connected to our body, and it's just so important. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments in the audience, now would be a really great time to do that. Next week, we're going to be talking about meditation, because it's something that I kind of skipped over a little bit. I started to talk about it at the beginning of my show, and I got carried away with some other things, but I want to go back because meditation is so, so important for gaining control over our mind. And really not control so much, but the ability to really rise above our thoughts and our feelings and create a greater awareness and understanding of all of that. And I have found that the more that I've practiced breathing, the more I've practiced meditation, the quieter my mind has gotten, and the more I've been able to let go of a lot of that almost compulsive thinking that was happening before. So next week we're going to be talking about meditation, doing some troubleshooting, all that jazz. All right, I don't see any questions from the audience, so thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you liked it, please like, share, comment with your friends and family on Facebook. And don't forget that we're still doing our New Year's challenge. So that's going to be going all the way to the end of January. So if you're just tuning into the show and want to catch up on other episodes, joining our New Year's challenge would be a really great way to do that. There's a lot of information in the pinned post at the top of the Higher Consciousness Healing Facebook page. So go on there, check it out. And all of our old shows are on YouTube, so you can always access them there and watch them episode 1 first, then 2, then 3. You'll get a lot out of it. All right, thank you so much, and everybody take care.